Nice. All right, so let's jump on to the next bit. Jungsun, do you have anything for us?
Yeah. So I think what happened this past week was Apple also announcing their, what was it called, Japan Fair Trade, um, like update, right? For those who aren't familiar, I believe the rough story goes along the lines of Japan was actually investigating Apple um, for essentially being a monopoly, right, with their app store, and and the conclusion of that was that Apple was a monopoly. And Apple was going to say in return, Apple was like, okay, you know what we're going to do is we will actually allow certain types of apps to essentially bypass the whole Apple ecosystem, right? And this is really important because Apple currently takes 15 to 30% of revenue of any apps of revenue, right? And for companies like Netflix or Spotify, where they're really meant for it as a iPhone's really just a consumption platform. It's not like a way for them to like monetize their audience or anything. That was just a huge tax on their on these platforms. And the worst part there was because Apple also is in that space, right? So Apple has Apple Music, which competes with Spotify, and then it becomes like, hey, why is Apple giving themselves that treatment of not having to pay the 30%, whereas for Spotify they do, right? So once that whole thing kind of played out in Japan, Apple decided that they were going to just roll this out globally. So this is not just going to be a thing, specifically for Japan. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, this is supposed to roll out in 2022. So, another 3-4 months. What do you guys think about this?
I thought I'm still in 2020. Like 2020, 2021 have been cancelled. Okay, but on this thought about Apple opening up its walled garden. So for everyone that don't yet know, Apple has a walled garden strategy, and they're very proud of it. They talk about it all the time, right? They want to create that ecosystem where people cannot leave. So in the App Store, of course, I personally don't think it's anti-monopolistic, but I do think that it's anti-competition. So these are a little bit of nuances, right? So we don't need to go deep into that part. But what is interesting is not particularly for Apple, because I do believe that even with the reduction of the App Store revenue, it is a drop in the ocean, right? For Apple, it is not their major business. They make most of their money, I think about 60-70% of their money from one product, which are phones. Okay, iPhones account for their major revenue source, and then they have all these other gadgets that they're building, right? So a lot of these apps and a lot of these ecosystem is really just keeping the user within Apple, right? So a lot of apps are optimized for Apple users, the experience is optimized for Apple users, but fundamentally Apple's business is still the hardware. But the interesting part is with a lot of these mid-size app developers, right? So whether it's Spotify, whether it's Netflix, whether it's other, like Epic Games, and especially a lot of the game guys, once this becomes open up, because the game guys have been hitting really hard at Apple, right? Trying to attack them, lawsuit after lawsuit, to get them to open up, right? So once it's open up, it's gonna be a big bump for all their revenue, right? Because if you think about it, 15 to 30% is quite serious in a lot of their revenue structure, right? Of course, with in-app purchases and with subscription and all that stuff, it's definitely not. It's definitely a little bit more complicated. It will not be like 30%, 15% up revenue, but it provides a platform for them to really increase their margins, right? So I do think that there's a lot of good stuff coming for a lot of these smaller app developers. Not so much about Apple.
Yeah, just in case you're not aware, games is not considered part of this group. So it's only reader apps, right? So things that you go in to just consume something, but you're not able to, you're not really buying anything in general, right? So yeah, games is not considered. It's not part of it. Another way I kind of read this is, like what you were saying, Reggie, like Epic Games has been really trying to fight for this. They were trying to bring on all these other bigger brand names to join them on this cause. So in a sense, I feel like if these brand names decide to take the Apple's offer right now, the as is, then that Epic Games or game developers are kind of left alone again, right? Which does make it a very interesting dynamic, to be determined, really.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so it's only for reading. So it allows to go outside of the environment. I think. Okay, so then it's not really a drop in the bucket, right? What will they actually lose, right? Because technically, if their revenue is in hardware, they're still going to buy the hardware. I think what might happen here is that if they're doing this Fair Trade Commission, they're calling it the JFTC, I believe, right? And they're going to implement it throughout the world. What this might do is get more readers, more app developers to send and create more reading content or reading apps in the App Store. And what this will do is effectively increase the usage of the phone, right? So I think that's maybe their play, right? I think it's honestly for them a small thing. For Japan, and if you talk about Epic Games, you talk about all the other stuff that's going on, even in terms of rev, is quite big. But I think that's a separate matter. But in terms of this, I don't think they're baiting an eyelid, to be honest. I think they're just going, okay, you want it, we do it.
No, I think what is interesting is that if you're going to reduce these kind of margins, it's going to increase it for third-party developers, smaller developers that are really making money off the month-to-month subscription, making money off the one-time download and all that, right? So it's going to open up that whole ecosystem for them. So I definitely agree with the increase in vibrancy. And Apple is not unique in this game. Shopify has also come out to reduce their cost, right? Reduce their overall percentage that they charge third-party developers to encourage them to develop, right? So it is broad. Right? Yeah, more. So it's a broad movement for a lot of these big platform plays. And yeah, Shopify is a platform, Square is a platform, Zoom is a platform. A lot of these guys are building platforms at this point in time. They all have third-party app developers or third-party content creators. So with the reduction in these kind of fees that's being charged on third-party developer, hey, it's good for all of you smaller people trying to do something, and also increase the vibrancy for a lot of these big platforms, which will further increase their stickiness. So yeah, as they say, the next Amazon is Amazon, right? So the next Apple will be Apple, right? So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Cheng. So I think that was a good news.